I died, choking on my own rage. The notary's stamp still fresh on the deed that stripped me of everything, as Jake's smug face blurred into the paramedics' frantic shouts. My last breath was a curse whispered to the empty echo of my ancestral home in Willow Creek, Ohio, gone. All of it. To the man who'd wormed his way into my family like a silver-tongued serpent. But death, that cold bastard, didn't keep me down, it spat me back out, gasping awake in my silk sheets on the morning of Emily's engagement party, 3 years before the ink dried on my ruin. The clock on my nightstand reads 7:42 a.m., June 15th, the year I thought I'd bury in a bottle of bourbon after the wedding. Sunlight sliced through the lace curtains of my bedroom in the old Victorian I'd inherited from Grandma Ruth, the one with creaky oak floors and secrets etched into every beam. My heart hammered like a jackrabbit's, sweat slicking my palms as fragments of my future life, or death, crashed through my skull. Jake Harlan, that Ivy League prick with his veneered smile and calculated charm, hadn't loved my daughter. He'd married her for the title to this house, this land. This legacy I'd clawed to keep after Dad's bankruptcy left us scraping by in the 90s Rust Belt. I bolted upright, the duvet pooling around my waist like a surrender flag. My hands, younger, unscarred by the arthritis that would later twist my fingers into claws, trembled as I touched my face. 48 again. Not the withered 61 who'd clutched the porch railing and tumbled into oblivion from a mysterious slip that the coroner chalked up to accidental overdose on painkillers I never touched. No. That was Jake's doing, the forged prescriptions, the whispers to Emily about my declining health, the slow poison of isolation until I signed away my life to escape the nightmare. Mackenzie? You up? Mom? Emily's voice floated up the stairs, bubbly and oblivious, laced with that Midwestern lilt she'd picked up from me. God, she sounded so young, so full of that blind trust that Jake would exploit like a loaded gun. I swung my legs over the bed, bare feet hitting the cool hardwood, and stared at the vanity mirror. Same chestnut waves, same hazel eyes flecked with gold, but now they burned with a fire forged in hell. This time, I wouldn't be the fool who welcomed him with open arms, toasting to family while he mapped out my demise. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled of fresh coffee and cinnamon scones, the kind I'd baked 1,000 times to play the perfect mother of the bride. Emily was at the island, scrolling her phone, her blonde ponytail swinging like a metronome of innocence. 25. Fresh out of her marketing job at that Columbus ad firm, dreaming of a white picket fence and babies with Jake's dimples. Morning. Sleepyhead. Big day, Jake's folks are flying in from Boston. Isn't it wild? We're really doing this. I forced a smile, pouring coffee with hands that itched to shatter the mug against the wall. Wild doesn't cover it. Kiddo. You sure about this guy? 3 months of dating. And he's got you planning forever? It came out sharper than I meant. A preview of the battles we'd fight in my first time limey. The overprotective widow warning her off the wolf in Brooks Brothers' wool. She laughed. That light, forgiving sound that always gutted me. Mom, come on. Jake's perfect. Ambitious. Sweet. And he adores this house, says it's got soul. Like you. Adores it. All right. In my memory, those words were the hook he baited first, complimenting the gingerbread trim while his eyes appraised the square footage like a realtor on commission. The house wasn't just bricks and mortar, it was my anchor, the one asset Dad's ghost hadn't squandered in his gambling haze. 2 acres of prime Willow Creek real estate, zoned for development, worth a cool $3 million if you flipped it right. Jake knew that from day one, his research into local markets, He'd called it, all while schmoozing me at Sunday barbecues. By noon, the house buzzed with preparations. Caterers in starched whites hauled chafing dishes into the sunroom, and I directed them with a general's precision, my mind a whirlwind of timelines colliding. In the original run, this party was where Jake sealed the deal, a quiet aside by the punch bowl, his hand on my elbow, spinning tales of his hard-knock upbringing to mirror my own. We're survivors. Mackenzie, you and me. Let's make sure Emily's set for life. By the wedding 6 months later, he'd have me co-signing loans for his startup, embedding clauses that tied the house to his debts. Then the lawsuits from his shady investors, the liens piling up like autumn leaves, until the only out was foreclosure straight into his LLC. With Emily none the wiser, gaslit into believing I'd lost it all through my poor decisions.
Not this time.
I slipped into the study, the room where Grandma Ruth's antique desk held the heart of it all, the original deed, yellowed and tucked in a locked drawer. My fingers flew over the combination, 742, her birthday, and pulled it free. The paper crackled like a warning, ink from 1923 spelling out the unbreakable trust, the house passed bloodline only, immune to marital claims unless explicitly willed otherwise. Jake's endgame relied on cracking that. Via a forged amendment, he'd slip past a crooked notary during the estate planning phase post-wedding. But the notary? Harold Voss. That weaselly ex-cop with a gambling habit and a grudge against my family from Dad's old poker nights, he'd been the linchpin. His mistake the twist that doomed me. I refold the deed. Heart pounding. First move, fortify the fortress. I grab my phone, dialing my old attorney, Lydia Grant, before the party kicked off. LYD. It's Mac. Emergency consult. Can you come over?
Now.
She arrived in 20. Her no-nonsense bob and power suit a balm against the chaos. Over iced tea in the garden, I spun a half-truth. Hypothetical family drama. What if someone's angling for the house through marriage? How do I bulletproof it? Lydia's eyes narrowed, pen tapping her legal pad. Prenup's a start for Emily. But for you, revocable trust revision. Immediate. No co-signing anything. Ever. And get a PI on the fiancé if your gut's screaming. Her words were gospel. Echoes of advice I'd ignored in the first go-round, too enamored with Jake's flattery to see the knife. The party unfolded like a scripted farce. Guests milled on the wraparound porch, neighbors in khakis. Emily's sorority sisters giggling over mimosas, while Jake held court by the grill, flipping burgers with the ease of a man who knew he'd win. He was all-American handsome, 6'2", sandy hair, that jawline that screamed trust fund lacrosse captain. Mackenzie, the queen bee herself. He pulled me into a hug, cologne sharp as his ambition. Up close, I saw it, the micro-twitch in his smile, the way his gaze flicked to the property line. Calculating.
Jake.
Thrilled you're here. My voice dripped honey over venom. Tell me, how's that real estate venture shaping up? You mentioned scouting flips in Willow Creek. It was a probe, casual as confetti, but his eyes sharpened. Just a flicker. Early stages. But this place? Prime example of untapped gold. We should talk business sometime. You've got the vision. There it was.
The bait.
In the old timeline, I'd bitten, sharing blueprints over whiskey, unwittingly feeding his blueprint for theft. Emily linked arms with him, beaming. See, Mom, he's got ideas. Maybe we could all invest together after the wedding. My stomach twisted. Invest. the word that started the avalanche. As dusk fell, fairy lights twinkling like false stars, I pulled Emily aside in the herb garden. Sweetheart, listen. I love you more than this house, more than air. But Jake, he's got edges. Let me run a background check. Just to be safe. Her face crumpled. The first crack in our bond from the future I'd relived. Mom, you're paranoid. Like with Dad.
Ouch.
My ex, the deadbeat who'd bolted when she was 5, leaving me to rebuild alone. But this wasn't paranoia, it was prophecy. By night's end, as cleanup crews hauled away the debris of celebration, I sat alone in the study. Lydia's revised trust papers signed and notarized, this time, by a clean slate pro from Cleveland. No Voss in sight. Phase 1. Lock the gates. But revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon of thorns. Jake would come sniffing soon, his charm a Trojan horse. And when he did, I'd smile.
Pull his guts.
And start digging his grave with a shovel forged from his own lies. The next weeks blurred into a tense domestic ballet. Emily dove headfirst into wedding fever, Pinterest boards for centerpieces, tastings at that kitschy barn venue in the Hocking Hills, while I played the doting mom, all while shadowing Jake like a ghost from his future. Mornings, I'd accidentally bump into him at the local coffee shop, the Beanstalk, where he'd nurse his black drip and scroll Zillow on his laptop. Fancy meeting you here, I'd say, sliding onto the stool beside him, my smile a blade wrapped in velvet. Mackenzie, stalking the caffeine, he'd chuckle, but his posture stiffened, that predatory instinct sensing the shift. In the first timeline, these chats were my undoing, me gushing about the house's history, him nodding sympathetically, filing away every vulnerability.
Now,
I flipped the script. So, Jake, spill. What's a hotshot like you see in our sleepy town? Boston boy. Big dreams. Willow Creek's hardly Wall Street. He leaned in, eyes gleaming. It's the people. Grounded.
Real.
And properties like yours? They're diamonds in the rough. Ever thought of developing? I know developers who'd kill for a piece. They're the hook. Cast early. I reeled it in slow. Develop? Grandma Ruth would roll in her grave. But, hypothetically, what would that look like?
He bit.
Sketching vague plans on a napkin. Subdivide the lot. Condos for young families. Profit split 3 ways. I nodded, feigning intrigue, while my phone's recorder app hummed silently in my pocket. Evidence 1. Ambition bordering on obsession. Nights, alone with a glass of Cabernet, I'd pore over public records on my iPad, the blue glow illuminating the ghosts of what was to come. Jake Harlan, born Jacob Harlow in Lynn, Massachusetts trailer park, name change at 18, courtesy of a juvie stint for fraud that his connections buried. Harvard business on scholarship, but whispers of expelled clubs for ethical lapses. And the kicker, a string of exes in small towns, each with a tale of a whirlwind romance ending in asset grabs, foreclosed farms, liquidated IRAs. He'd been a hustler since cradle, graduating to white-collar predation. My daughter was just the latest mark, her trust the key to my kingdom. But the real rot festered deeper, a secret I'd unearthed too late in the original run. Jake wasn't solo. He had a silent partner, Victor Kane, my old neighbor, the slumlord who'd eyed my land since the 90s. Victor, with his oily comb-over and fleet of rust bucket rentals, had lost a bidding war to Dad decades back. Revenge simmered in him like bad moonshine. And Jake was his proxy, Marion. Leveraged the trust. Flipped the deed to Victor's development firm for a cut. The notary, Voss, was their grease, paid off with poker IOUs and threats from Victor's goon squad. I needed proof. The kind that stuck in court. Enter phase 2, the honey trap. I invited Jake over for Sunday supper. Just the three of us. But maneuvered Emily into a girls' spa day with her bridesmaids. Family bonding, I called it. Plating pot roast and mashed potatoes like a 1950s sitcom mom. He arrived in chinos and a polo. All boy next door. But his eyes scanned the crown molding like a safecracker. Over apple pie, I broached it casual. Jake. Emily's glowing. But weddings cost a fortune. You two thought about prenups? Protect the assets. You know. His fork paused midair. That telltale jaw clench. Prenup? Come on. Mackenzie. That's lack of trust. We're building a future. Not a contract. I sipped my wine. Eyes locked. Trust is earned.
Son.
Like how I trust you with my girl's heart. Or my home. The air thickened. His laugh forced. Your home? It's stunning. But let's be real. Properties like this need updating. I could help finance that. Low interest. Family rates.
Boom.
The overture. In the timeline past, I demurred. Flattered by the generosity.
Now.
I leaned forward. Finance? What's the catch?
Jake?
Spill it. He recovered smooth, waving it off as just an idea, but I saw the sweat bead on his temple. As he left, I texted Lydia. Deep dive on Harlan and Kane. Subpoena ready. The wedding loomed like a guillotine blade. 6 months ticking down in a frenzy of RSVPs and floral mock-ups. Emily floated through it all. Her ring, a tasteful solitaire Jake had hawked his watch for, catching light like a promise. But I saw the cracks, her late nights at work, blaming stress, while Jake's business trips to Cleveland multiplied. In my foresight, those trips were meetups with Victor, plotting the post-nuptial siege.
Now.
I countered with shadows of my own, a private investigator named Ruiz. XOSU linebacker turned PI. Burly and discreet. Tailing Jake's escalade like a bloodhound on a scent. Ruiz's first report landed in my inbox mid-July. A PDF thick with timestamps and grainy photos. Jake at a dive bar in German Village. Clinking glasses with Victor Kane over greasy wings. Captions read like indictments. Subject discussing asset acquisition via marital leverage. Kane references the widow's soft spot. My blood boiled. But I filed it away, building the dossier brick by brick. Next came the wire transfers. Small at first. Jake funneling gifts from an offshore account tied to Victor's shell company. Bait for the bigger fish. Emily noticed the chill seeping into our dynamic. Her brunches turning interrogative.
Mom.
You're distant. Is it cold feet for me?
Or.
Jake. We'd be at the kitchen table. Her picking at a yogurt parfait. Me stirring oatmeal I couldn't stomach. It's love.
Eminencia.
Real love doesn't rush. Remember your grandma? She waited 10 years for Granddad after the war. Built something solid.
Lies.
Half of them. Ruth had eloped at 19, but they planted seeds of doubt. Tiny fissures in the fairy tale. August brought the first real test, Jake's generous offer. Formalized over lunch at the country club. Emily was there, sandwiched between us like a human shield, as he slid a folder across the linen tablecloth. Family investment opportunity, he pitched, voice smooth as aged scotch. We refinance the house. Fund my development firm. Returns in a year, college funds for future grandkids. Mac. The numbers dazzled. Low APR. Balloon payment deferred. But buried in the fine print, a cross-collateral clause tying the property to his ventures. Default clauses wide as the Ohio River. Emily's eyes lit up.
Mom. Think.
We could expand the garden. Add that sunroom you've always wanted. I flipped pages slow, feigning consideration, while my gut churned. This was the gateway drug to ruin, the first lien that snowballed into avalanche. Tempting, I said, closing the folder. But let's run it by Lydia first. No secrets in family, right? Jake's smile didn't reach his eyes. A predator scenting resistance. That night, alone in the study, I cross-referenced the docs with Ruiz's intel. Victor's fingerprints everywhere. The lender was a Kane affiliate. The notary prepped? Harold Voss. His signature looping like a noose. I picked up the phone, dialing a number from memory, the clean notary from Cleveland. Yes. Elena Torres, who'd handled Lydia's revisions. Hypothetical, I started, voice steady. What if a family member's pushing shady paperwork? Red flags? She schooled me quick. Watermark variances. Mismatched dates. Easy to spot with a loop. Armed, I waited for the next play. September scorched with controversy. Emily's bachelorette weekend in Vegas, my treat. A distraction, left her hungover and garrulous upon return. Jake's been weird, she confessed over recovery mimosas in my sunroom. Snapping about money. Saying you're holding us back, with a house drama. My opening. I pulled her into a hug. The scent of her coconut shampoo a time machine to bedtime stories.
Ink.
Listen. I hired someone to check him out. Not to hurt you, to protect us. Her recoil was visceral. Tears streaking mascara. You're spying? On my fiancé?
God. Mom.
This is why Dad left. Your control issues. The words landed like shrapnel, dredging up ghosts I'd buried. My ex,
Tom.
Hadn't left because of control. He'd bolted for a 20-year-old teller at the bank, squandering our savings on alimony-dodging schemes. But Emily, at 10, had internalized it as my fault, the overbearing mom who'd pushed him away. In the first life, that guilt paralyzed me, making me overcompensate with Jake, welcoming him deeper into the viper's nest.
Now.
I stood firm. Control? This is love.
Kiddo.
The kind that fights dirty to save you from a mistake. She stormed out, slamming the garden door. But the seed took root. I saw it in her hesitant text to Jake over the next week. Jake retaliated subtle. A poison dart at the joint family dinner. His parents, stiff wasps from Beacon Hill, arrived with chilled chablis and veiled barbs. Such a charming fixer-upper, Mrs. Harlan cooed over the parlor, her eyes on the peeling wallpaper. Jake's got a knack for modernizing relics. Dinner devolved into a sales pitch, Jake dominating conversation, pitching his vision for Willow Creek as the next Hudson Valley hotspot. Victor dropped by uninvited, neighborly check-in, his laugh booming like thunder. I watched them, a tableau of treachery, Jake deferring to Victor with coded glances, Emily oblivious, carving turkey with bridal glow. Post-dinner, as coffee steamed, I dropped my bomb. Victor. Funny you mentioned development. I hear you've got a partner scouting local gems. His pork pie hat tilted. Cigar smoke curling. Grapevine talks.
Eh.
Always room for collaboration. Mackenzie. Jake interjected smooth. Dad, Victor's a mentor. But let's focus on the wedding. Not wheeling-dealing. Too late. Emily's brow furrowed. The first thread pulled. October's engagement photo shoot at the farm-turn venue was my masterstroke. I'd gifted the session, insisting on a local photographer, Ruiz's cousin. Camera a cover for Candids. Amid hay bales and wildflowers. As Jake mugged for the lens with Emily draped on his arm, I wandered the property line, admiring the views. Ruiz,
Posing as grip.
snapped Victor's Tahoe idling nearby. Jake slipping away for a 5-minute confab in the barn. Audio later. The old bat's stalling. Push the refinance at the honeymoon reveal. Honeymoon reveal, code for the post-wedding ambush. When they'd spring the estate gift paperwork. Voss waiting in the wings. Back home. Dossier swelling. I confronted my reflection. Was I the villain here? Sabotaging my daughter's happiness for a vendetta against a ghost? No, the happiness was illusion, built on my corpse. But the decision's not controversial.
Yes.
Hiring a PI? Borderline obsessive. Leaking anonymous tips to Emily's friends about Jake's past?
Petty warfare.
Yet each step felt righteous. A mother's fury distilled into strategy. Halloween brought the fracture. Emily, dressed as a flapper for the neighborhood bash, cornered me in the foyer amid jack-o'-lantern grins. I saw the photos.
Mom.
Jake meeting Victor? What's going on? Her voice cracked, costume feathers trembling. I spilled it all. The affair of convenience. The house heist. The death I dodged. She laughed at first, disbelieving, then sobbed, collapsing onto the antique settee. You're lying. He loves me, but doubts a corrosive acid, by dawn. She demanded answers from Jake. His response? A masterclass in gaslighting. He showed up at midnight, rain-slicked and righteous, pounding the brass knocker like Judgment Day. Mackenzie, what the hell? Poisoning her against me, with your paranoia? Emily hovered behind him, eyes red-rimmed. I opened the door wide, gesturing to the study. Come in.
Jake.
Let's hash it. Emily deserves truth. In the lamplight, accusations flew. He denied. Deflected. Victor's a contact. Nothing more. Your PI? Harassment. I'll sue. But I played my ace, the audio clip. Ruiz's barn recording tinny through my phone speaker. His face drained of color. That Harvard polish cracking.
This.
Edited. Lies. Emily gasped, hand to mouth. Jake. The room spun into chaos, her fleeing upstairs. Him lunging for the phone. Me dodging with a mother's feral grace. Get out, I hissed, dialing 911 as backup. Cops arrived. Statements taken, no arrests, but a paper trail of domestic disturbance. Jake slunk into the night, promising lawyers by morning. November dawned fractured. Emily moved into the guest room, wedding dress gathering dust in the attic. She oscillated, nights of tearful calls to Jake, days of furious scrolling through his ex's Reddit AMAs, tales of love-bombed then bankrupted. I played nurse, brewing chamomile and dispensing wisdom laced with I told you so as I swallowed hard. You did right.
Eminencia.
Better a broken engagement than a broken life. But Jake didn't fade. He escalated, a cornered rat baring teeth. Lawsuit threats morphed to reality. Papers served for defamation. Emotional distress. Victor's shadow loomed. Anonymous calls at 2 a.m. Heavy breathing and warnings. Back off the land. Widow. Or Emily pays. I beefed up security. Ruiz patrolling nights. But the stress etched lines on my face. A preview of the hag I'd become. Thanksgiving was a battlefield. Emily's aunts flew in. The table a minefield of whispers. That boy's no good. Aunt Clara clucked over turkey. Her bridge partner's gossip fueling the fire. Jake crashed it uninvited, bearing pies and penitence. Family first, he pleaded, kneeling by Emily's chair. She wavered, my heart in my throat. Would she fall again? But Ruiz's latest drop sealed it. Bank records showing Jake's gifts as kickbacks. Victor's LLC wiring funds for consulting. Out, Emily said, voice steel. We're done. He exploded, plates shattering. Accusations of brainwashing until cops hauled him away. Second incident in a month. As sirens wailed, I held her, whispering, proud of you, kid. December crept in with winter's bite. The wedding canceled via mass email. Refunds a logistical hell. Jake's suit pressed on. Discovery phase dredging his skeletons. The juvie record unsealed. Exes testifying to patterns of predation. Victor cut ties publicly, but privately sued Jake for breach. Karma's ironic twist. Voss, I tipped the Bar Association anonymously, his license suspended pending investigation. Yet victory tasted bittersweet. Emily and I rebuilt. Therapy sessions in Columbus unpacking decades of baggage, my marriage's fallout, her daddy issues. You saved me, Mom, she said one snowy eve, mulled wine steaming between us. But at what cost? The family's divided. The cost? My soul. Scarred but intact. And as New Year's loomed, a subpoena arrived, not from Jake, but for him. Lydia's motion to dismiss. Countersuit for fraud brewing. The house stood firm, lights aglow against the frost. January thawed the ice, but not the vendetta. Jake's legal barrage intensified. His attorney, a slick downtown shark named Hargrove, filing motions to depose me, painting me as the meddling harpy derailing true love. Court dates loomed in Franklin County, the same sterile chambers where, in my death spiral, I'd begged for injunctions too late.
Now.
I prepped like a prize fighter, Lydia drilling me on testimony. Ruiz's affidavits stacked like ammunition. Emily testified first, her voice quavering but resolute. He manipulated me. Used our relationship to target my mother's property. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with silver streaks, nodded gravely, adjourning for recesses that stretched into weeks. Meanwhile, Victor circled like a vulture denied carrion. His offers arrived via certified mail, buyouts for the land, escalating from $2 million to desperation bids at 2.5, laced with veiled threats, before complications arise. Complications? His goons tailing my runs to the grocery. Slashed tires on my Subaru. I countered with a restraining order. Lydia's clerk serving it at his dingy office amid foreclosure notices on his own empire. Willow Creek whispered, the slumlord's downfall, sparked by a widow's wrath. February's blizzard buried the town in white, mirroring the Cold War in my home. Emily, job hunting post-breakup, crashed on my couch with rom-com marathons and job apps. What now? Mom? I'm 25 and starting over. Her vulnerability cracked me open. This was the gift of rebirth. Not just revenge, but redemption.
Now?
You live. Date frogs if you want, but vet 'em hard. And hey, that house.
It's ours.
Let's flip a room, your design. We gutted the parlor. Her marketing eye turning Victorian gloom into airy loft chic, exposed beams, neutral palettes, a reading nook by the bay window. Hammering nails side by side, laughing over paint splatters, mended what Jake had frayed. But Jake lurked, his desperation manifesting in midnight voicemails. You think you've won. Mackenzie? Emily was mine, the house too. I'll bury you in court. I saved them all. Fodder for the harassment addendum. Ruiz uncovered more. Jake's startup a Ponzi light. Investors pulling out post-scandal. His Boston family icing him out. Disinherited. Unmoored. He doubled down, subpoenaing my financials to prove instability. The deposition was a circus. Hargrove's office in Columbus. All glass and ego, with a court reporter stenotyping my every breath. MS. Rivers, he sneered, maiden name. A dig at my widowhood. You admit to hiring a private investigator pre-engagement? Stalking, one might say. I leaned into the mic, calm as Lake Erie. Protection. Counsel. When your client's got a rap sheet longer than my grocery list, a mom's gotta do. Gasps rippled. Hargrove sputtered. Lydia objected. The transcript later gold for summary judgment. March bloomed with cherry blossoms and breakthroughs. Voss cracked first, summoned by the bar. His deposition a confessional under oath. Kane leaned on me, he admitted, voice gravelly from chain smoking. Old debts from your father's games. Said it'd square us if I facilitated a transfer. But the amendment?
Sloppy.
Mismatched seals, I knew it wouldn't hold if challenged. The notary's mistake. The chink in their armor. In my first death, I'd never challenged. Grief and gaslighting blinded me.
Now.
It was Exhibit A, fraud prima facie. Emily's empowerment arc accelerated. She landed a gig at a boutique agency in Athens, Ohio, commutable, creative, channeling heartbreak into pitch decks that slayed. To second chances, we toast Fridays, takeout ties steaming on the new coffee table. But shadows lingered, her flinch at suit-wearing men, my nightmares of falling porches. Therapy unpacked it, mine for survivor's guilt, hers for betrayal trauma. You died for this house, she'd say, piecing my exaggerated warnings into truth. I won't let it be for nothing. April's tax season unearthed Jake's final desperation play. IRS audit flags on his returns, offshore funnels to Victor, flagged by my anonymous tip to the hotline. He showed up at the house unannounced, disheveled in a rumpled Oxford, rain plastering his hair. Talk, he barked through the screen door. Emily upstairs on a call. I let him in. The parlor our Coliseum. Rebuilt but battle-scarred. You lost.
Jake.
Pack your lies and go. He paced, eyes wild. Lost? You poisoned her, my future. That land was my ticket out. Victor promised. Promised what? A cut of my grave? I cut in. Voice ice. He whirled, face contorting. You think you're saintly? Your dad bankrupted half the town, Ruth's legacy, built on stolen acres from indigenous plots. Hypocrite. The barb struck deep, dredging the family's secret I'd buried with Dad. The 1923 deed. Inked post-Depression land grabs. Whispers of unfair dealings with Shawnee descendants. I'd learned it late in life, poring over county archives in despair. Guilt had festered, making me cling harder to the house as penance. Maybe, I conceded, chin high. But I earned every inch keeping it from leeches like you. Get out before I call Ruiz. He lunged, not violent, but desperate, grabbing my wrist for the phone. Give me Emily back, or the deal. Adrenaline surged, my free hand slamming a vase, porcelain shards and lilies exploding. Emily's scream from the stairs. Jake. Stop. He froze. Reality crashing. Sirens wailed minutes later. Assault charges stuck this time. Bail denied pending psych eval. Victor washed hands publicly, settling out of court for my silence on his roll. A fat check for community housing. Ironic restitution. May's hearings dismantled the empire. Jake's suit crumbled under Voss's testimony. Countersuit exposing the conspiracy. Conspiracy to defraud. Emotional abuse add-ons. Judge ruled swift. Dismissal with prejudice. Restitution ordered. Victor's firm dissolved in bankruptcy. His rentals seized. Emily watched from the gallery, her hand in mine, whispering, twist of fate. Ha! Summer solstice brought catharsis. The house, now our sanctuary, hosted a rebirth party, no whites, just barbecues and blues tunes from a playlist of Ruth's favorites. Neighbors toasted Mackenzie's miracle, oblivious to the necromancy. Emily danced with a new beau, cautious. A barista with tattoos and honesty, while I slipped to the porch, deed in hand. Voss's mistake, annotated by experts, void ab initio. But controversy brewed in quiet moments. Local paper ran a puff piece. Jilted bride's mom foils fortune hunter, sparking forums ablaze. Overreach or heroism? Feminists hailed me vigilante mom. Trads decried meddling witch. Emily fielded calls from sorority alums. Some citing Jake. Give the guy a break. Women like her ruin lives. It stung. The mirror to my past sins. But I owned it. Decisions have teeth, I told her. Mine bit back. As fireflies blinked, Lydia arrived with champagne.
Case closed.
But Mac, that secret in the deed, the Shawnee claim, might want to address it. Donate acreage. Maybe. Full circle. Her words lingered. A final twist. Redemption beyond revenge. The house wasn't mine to hoard, but to heal. June circled back. 2 years to the day since my resurrection. The summer sun baking Willow Creek in golden haze. Emily's new life bloomed. Promotion at the agency. Weekends hiking Hocking Hills with her barista.
Theo.
A gentle giant with a poetry habit that made her laugh genuine.
Me?
I thrived in the quiet victories. The house's solar retrofit. Funded by Victor's settlement. Panels gleaming like shields against greed. But closure? That was a myth. Rebirth left loose threads, demanding I weave them tight. The twist hit mid-month. Innocuous as a certified envelope from the county clerk. Ancestral Review. Rivers Property. 1923 date. Shawnee Nation descendants. Tipped by Lydia's pro bono nudge. Petitioning quiet title, claiming oral histories of coerced sales post-Indian Removal Act echoes. Dad's legacy unspooling. The secret Voss's blunder had cracked wide. Guilt. Long suppressed. Surged. I'd fought for bricks stained by history's blood. Controversial? Hell yes. Selling out to developers like Jake would have profaned it further. But hoarding?
Complicity.
I called an emergency family summit. Emily, Lydia, even Aunt Clara via Zoom from Florida. We donate half the acreage. I proposed. Voice steady. Parkland, in Ruth's name. Honor the roots. Emily's eyes widened.
Mom.
That's huge. Lose the buffer zone. But Theo, ever the sage, nodded. It's not loss, it's legacy reloaded. The decision ripped, knights pacing the widow's walk. Weighing greed against grace, but it fit. My revenge had cleared the rot. Now, plant new seeds. July's heat wave amplified the drama. Jake's sentencing loomed. Plea deal for reduced time. 2 years white-collar camp. Probation. Restitution tripled. He wrote from county lockup. A scrawled plea via his public defender. I was broken. Mackenzie. Like your ex. Don't let hate define you. I burned it in the fireplace. Ashes swirling like purged sins. But Emily read the news clip. Her face softening. Should I visit? Closure? I advised against. But supported. Her therapy's gift. Boundaries over bitterness. Visitation day. She returned hollow-eyed. He's a shell. Blames Victor. His folks. Even me. But sorry? Yeah. We dissected it over gelato at Scoops. The parlor's fan wearing confessions. You gave him grace, I said. I couldn't. She squeezed my hand. You gave me life, twice over. August brought the land transfer ceremony. A low-key affair at the future park site. Shawnee elders in ribbon shirts. Sage smoke curling against blue skies. County suits fidgeting in ties. I signed over the deed. Half the acres. Deeded clean, tears blurring the notary's stamp. Torres again. Her loop impeccable. Miigwech, an elder murmured. Feather in hand. Thanks. The house stood sentinel. Diminished but dignified. Its value halved but soul intact. Local headlines spun controversy. Widow's radical giveaway. Hero or fool? Online trolls howled. SJW sellout. But supporters flooded my inbox. Inspiring. Real American grit. Fall foliage painted the remaining oaks crimson, mirroring my inner fire banked to embers. Emily announced her move, apartment in Athens. Closer to work. Theo's place nearby. Not fleeing, she clarified. Packing boxes in the foyer. Just flying. We hugged amid bubble wrap. Her whispering, love you, warrior mom. The nest half empty. But echoes fuller, Sunday calls. Holiday visits. A daughter unscarred. November's chill ushered Jake's release. Early for good behavior. Per news briefs. He vanished to Boston. Rehabbing under family watch. No contact clause ironclad. Victor? Community service at the new park. Planting saplings in penance. Voss retired to Florida. License revoked. His mistake, a punchline in legal circles. Thanksgiving redux. Justice girls, Aunt Clara in from the sun. Emily and Theo carving turkey with inside jokes. Toasts to twists. The notary's flub that exposed the fraud. The rebirth that rewrote fate. To Mackenzie, Clara raised her glass. Who died and came back swinging. As snow dusted December. I stood on the porch, breath fogging the night. The house creaked content. Lights twinkling for no party but peace. No hooks. No shocks, just a woman. 50 now in body if not spirit. Gazing at stars that once witnessed my fall.
Revenge?
Delivered. With interest. But the true win, Emily's laugh from the kitchen. Theo's off-key carols. A future unpoisoned. Had I gone too far? The PI. The leaks. The shattered vase. Decisions that sparked debates at book club. Whispers at the diner. Max ruthless. Maybe. But in America's heartland grind, where dreams die quiet and betrayals fester loud, ruthless was survival. Ruthless was love. Unapologetic and fierce. The clock struck midnight on New Year's. champagne popping as fireworks bloomed over Willow Creek. Emily pulled me into a dance, bare feet on oak floors worn by generations. Happy rebirth,
Mom.
I spun her, heart full. Death had stolen nothing, life, reclaimed, was the ultimate heist. And in that moment, with the deed's ghosts laid to rest and traitors scattered to wind, I knew the house wasn't stolen. It was shared.
Saved.
Mine. Eternally.